when one has a car like this, I'm not going to spend time standing outside and explaining why I'm doing this story. It has to be hands behind the wheel. And what we really want to find out is, has the downsized twin-turbo engine really spoiled the Carrera S's party, or is it still loads of fun?
The biggest change on the new engine is the shift to turbocharging. Done to improve emissions and fuel economy, the new 3-litre engine churns out 420 HP and a whopping 500 Nm of torque. It uses a mild boost and a high compression ratio to make it feel naturally aspirated and differentiated from the more powerful 540 HP turbo. The new engine also features new tech like preloaded boost for quicker engine responsiveness.
You know, what that all translates into is just effortless, easy acceleration, and it just reels the cars in front of me in so quick that I often find I have to restrain myself because I don't realize just how quick I'm going.
Once you get the engine into the mid-range, the boost from the turbo gives it a nice lusty pull.
And they said turbocharging wouldn't be good. Well, you can tell by the smile on my face that there's no fun been lost here, and it's just pure thrill the way this pins you to the back of your seat every time you accelerate.
Acceleration time, say 3.9 seconds to the 100 mark, but this feels even quicker. On an open stretch of road, it just gobbles up the markers at a manic pace. Still, it must be said that there are no sudden spikes in power, just one long, exhilarating wave of torque. Making it more fun is the PDK double clutch flicking through the gears in the most seamless manner. And the boost button, well, that just gives you a few seconds of full boost to the red line to get you to nirvana.
Now, as the road curls and winds in front of me, I realize that this steering is better than the previous electric unit. And it definitely feels more meaty and gives you more feedback.
I can't resist putting it into Sport Plus, and with the Porsche Active Suspension Management selected in the right mode, I'm ready to step on it a little more.
As you press on, you realize there's a hint of understeer, but the power just helps you neutralize that, and the car just dives into corners with ease. The tail nipping out ever so slightly for that little bit of drama as you floor it through a corner. Oh yes, this definitely is still a fun car.
It has that characteristic lifting of the nose when you floor it hard and the slight jiggle. The rear wheel steering should have made it both more agile and more stable, but the fact that the car is a drop top has made a difference too. Still, this is the characteristic way that a Porsche handles, and that's what makes it more fun.
Now, what I find quite impressive, especially for sports car territory, is the ride quality. When I'm going over bad patches like this, it doesn't skip over uneven patches of road. It doesn't really get unsettled. It doesn't crash through the potholes. In fact, it absorbs them quite well. And I think in city conditions, it'll be quite practical, even for everyday use.
This means that you can add power with a bit more confidence, secure in the knowledge that our roads won't try and rip the suspension off. And Porsche has made this car even more practical in our conditions. You can now raise the nose by a good 40 millimeters and keep it up until 35 kilometers per hour.
Well, having a sports car is a load of fun, and driving it on a winding section of road even more so. But what's the point of a convertible if you can't put the roof down? And since the weather permits us to, well, for one, I can hear the audio track a little bit more now. Well, as much fun as I'm having, enjoying the weather, the car, the roads, all good things must come to an end, and I do have to stop and take a look at what else is new.
car also has an altered suspension. It now sits marginally lower. The rear 305mm tyre has been made approximately half an inch wider to handle the additional torque. And it also gets a few active aero bits like the spoiler that hides away and merges with the rear profile of the car when not in use. There are now new vents at the rear to help expunge the greater heat out of the twin-turbo motor. There's a new lip spoiler and twin exhausts that are placed close together. This is the best way to identify this new car. And don't you just love those mildly domed headlights that remind you of the Porsche Le Mans racers from the past?
You do get that aircraft-like cockpit feel when you sit in this cabin, snugly fit into your seat with the large tack that takes center place in the dials in front of you, a host of buttons along the central console. There's some new bits inside here as well, like the flat tablet-like touchscreen that now has Apple CarPlay, the steering from the 918, which gives it a far more sporty feel, and of course this little rotary knob which is there to change between Sport and Sport Plus and your driving modes, and the boost button in the center which gives you that additional power. Little touches that I really like on this interior are this clock that's sort of digital and analog with the seconds hand that moves around. Pretty interesting.
There's now even a new rubberized mat to hold your phone in the elbow box. The cabin remains classy and extremely well built, and the long front seat backs with their integrated headrests are as comfy as ever.
So we asked ourselves at the beginning, will the turbo spoil the party? No, I don't think they have, because as you can see by the smile I've had on my face through this story, it's still loads of fun to drive. But it's not to say that we don't miss the naturally aspirated engine. We do. That sense of drama is gone, the surge of power, the sound. This one has changed in character. But that loss in character is not necessarily a bad thing, because power on this one is still strong but more accessible. The ride quality has become a whole load better too, which makes it really more practical, especially in our conditions. And of course, there still is that involving characteristic of the way 911s drive. So yes, there's loads of thrill factor, but it all comes at a price. This one is 1.76 crore ex showroom Delhi, and for the bells and whistles on this S version, you'll have to shell out 20 lakhs more. Is it worth that much? Well, the 911 has always been an iconic sports car, and it still remains so. It is one of the best around.